How's it going, guys? My name is RighteousNicky and welcome back to the Brawler's Guild. Now this is going to be the Strange Thing fight. This is the only special fight that you can get from the cards when you finish your rank 8. And this fight is pretty hard actually. And I'm going to give you some tactics here of how you can do it. The first thing you want to do right off when you start, pop up both of your potions, because this fight, as well as the last fight of rank 8, is pretty high DPS requiring. So what you're going to do is click on the mushroom and you're going to get ported to another reality, I guess, where you're going to find this black guy. Now that your goal is to actually kill the black guy. Now there are also a lot of random stuff happening here that I'm going to explain to you. The first thing I'm going to tell you is about the two debuffs that you're going to have. The pink face debuff and the blue and yellow face debuff. Now the pink face debuff is actually the aura that is surrounding you, the red circle, and also it is connected with the NPCs that are in the arena, the strangers. Basically, if you have at any point of the encounter 3 strangers in your ring, in your red circle, you're going to get feared for a couple of seconds, and that is, as you imagine, pretty annoying. And not only that, but you're going to trigger those strangers into attacking you. They don't deal that much damage, but generally the problem that they do is that they fear you. The fear is very nasty. Now the second debuff here, the switching between the blue and yellow phase, I don't know how both of the debuffs are called, but basically the second debuff is the switching of the moods, I think it's called. Basically, if you're on the blue one, you're going to get reduced movement and haste. Reduced movement speed and attack speed. But it's actually haste, so it counts as a casting speed as well. While in the yellow buff, this is going to be turned around. You're going to get increased movement speed and increased haste. So this is going to be switching throughout the fight quite regularly. And you need to adjust your tactics and positioning from what is happening with the debuff. What I decided to do for my successful attempt is to unintentionally get myself in strangers so I can proc them out and get them out from the picture early on. Now I don't do that with every single stranger on the map. I just try to get some of those cluster packs around me and try to proc them early on so they don't bother me later on when I'm bursting. So I think that's a pretty nice tactic to do it. Otherwise you can try to completely avoid any strangers and do it flawlessly, which in my opinion is very hard to do because the fight gets pretty chaotic from around 50%, and you really need to have as much space and as free time, non-feared free time as possible. Now the next thing this boss is going to do is summon a horse, a strange horse. You can actually interrupt that ability, but the problem is that he casts it a bit more often than your cooldown of your interrupt. As a melee paladin, my interrupt has a 15 seconds cooldown, and that is not enough to cover the cast that the boss does. So you're going to be able to interrupt one of the casts, and the other cast you're going to need to leave to pop up. Now what the cast is going to do is going to summon a strange horse. Basically this thing has 1 HP, so you can one-shot it with any attack. This is actually a bit difficult for a melee because you actually need to go to it and attack it. Well, you might have a ranged ability, but in my case my only ranged ability is my judgment, that has actually pretty decent range, and I really want to be using my judgment to actually do more damage to the boss, so I really don't want to be wasting it on the mob. So what I do is actually I run up to the mob and use a auto attack or a crusader strike. If you're on another class like maybe a demon hunter, that is probably going to be much easier for you, and especially if you're ranged you can just tap switch to that target. I hope it doesn't bug the tab for you, but in general, if you're a class like me that doesn't have a lot of ranged options, this might be a bit annoying for you. But otherwise the horse itself does a charge ability. It has a decent cast time, so you can actually kill the horse before that happens, but in general do your best for that cast to not happen because the horse is going to charge on you and stun you for around 2 seconds. Again, that is annoying. It prevents you from DPSing, and you don't want that to be happening. Third core ability that the boss is going to be using is going to be a strange behemoth. Now he's going to summon a behemoth that is going to start following you. Actually, he's going to summon around 3 through the fight, so you're going to need to be running quite a lot from it. Those behemoths can actually be stunned. I've been heard that they can be thrown back with pushbacks. I don't know if they can be rooted, but generally they can be CC'd, so that makes it far more easy. And they're pretty slow, so you can run from them at a nice pace without being hurt. They actually swing for quite hard. They can probably take like 1 million of your health in one attack, so you want to be running away from them as best as possible. Otherwise, the annoying part of the behemoth is if you're on your blue debuff with the reduced movement speed and you're in a point where the behemoth is pretty close, then you might get pretty fucked up, especially if you have several behemoths and if it so happens that you trigger a fear during your yellow debuff, that fear can actually send you running towards the behemoth and he can two-shot you very instantly. So there's actually a lot of RNG in this fight that can fuck you up, that's why I try to clear some of the stranger guys in the early, so they don't fuck me up that much in the late game. Now at 50%, this is where I actually use my burst. Actually not precisely 50%, I use it when my 1 minute potion runs out, but at the 50% marker, the boss is going to use his next ability, which is going to be summon the strange army. Basically, he summons cats. Now those cats actually have pretty low HP. You can basically one-shot them with any of your AoE spells, but they do pretty decent, significant damage. Not that much, but if you don't kill them instantly, they can chop out your HP pretty consistently. So you do want to remove them as fast as possible. Now at this point I use my defensive cooldown, which is the shield that explodes. This prevents me from taking their auto attack damage and of course explodes for damage, which clears them out if there's some alive. But as well as a paladin, my divine storm has a talent that is called healing storm, which heals me up for a decent portion of HP, like around 100k every time I use it. So at this point, around the 50% point, not only that I'm going to be already lost some kind of HP, not much, but some kind of HP, but with that, with the wings and the increased haste of the divine storm, I can actually bring my HP back a bit for the later stages of the fight, where things are going to get even more chaotic, and I'm not going to be looking for my HP that much as looking for finishing up the fight and doing that last pieces of damage. Now I think he might summon the cats once more. Horses are going to be still appearing. You might get randomly feared again, and at 10% mark, this is the ultimate enrage ability. Things are getting really weird. Now he's going to make a decently long cast and he's going to fuck up your camera badly. He's going to invert it, just going to switch up sides, switch up the range, and it makes things even more chaotic. Basically, when this happens, I try to be in a position where I actually don't need to move anymore, because moving with that camera is such a pain in the ass that you generally don't want to do it. At this point I just try to focus my last DPS and finish out the boss, and as you can see I made it just at the end. My divine shield popped up on the far, but it popped up for like 1 or 2 seconds and I managed to land that last few DPS to finish it out. Now one thing I want to mention is this fight actually can be cheesed as a paladin. I didn't cheese it personally because I wanted to try hard and do it properly. I think that actually might be some kind of a bug that Blizzard oversaw. You can remove your both debuffs, the purple, yellow one and the pink one, with Blessing of Protection or Divine Shield, which makes the fight extremely easy. The NPCs don't fear you and you don't get the reduced movement and haste, which makes the fight even as doing DPS a lot easier. I really don't suggest you to do it because it's just like exploiting. It's really not fun, not fair. I just wanted to throw it out there, and I'm actually going to report it right after this video. I'm going to report this information in the bug tracker, going to even send it to Twitter, maybe even try and Reddit. There's actually a lot of cheesing in what other fights throughout the Brawl. For instance, the Stranger Tone Big Brawl, the big brawl that happens where you get thrown into the arena with the other people, can actually be cheesed with Hunter and Warlock pets. Basically, the pets can kill the animals from the event, and that shouldn't be happening. The main focus of the event is actually to survive with those animals being up, so it really ruins the fun of the experience by cheesing it like this. So I tell you, if you don't have the DPS actually or the skill to finish this last special boss, the strange thing, that you can do it with the divine shield thingy. But in general, I definitely suggest you not to. Me personally, I knew about the divine shield thingy before my successful attempt, but I didn't do it until I got my first successful attempt, because I just didn't felt good doing it. I just hurted myself that I'm not experienced the fight properly. There are actually 3 more bosses. There are actually 3 more bosses in the Brawlers Guild that you are yet to review. They're actually, as far as I know, you can only summon them through the random brawl. The random brawl feature, you get it by paying 100 gold to buy a chip dice, which you give to the guard, and that allows you for 30 minutes to play random brawls. The random brawls throw you actually to the previous brawl ladder, where you fight older bosses, but there is a chance that you can get matched to 3 new bosses, which I haven't already. Actually, I didn't have the luck to be matched. Besides the Seagull boss, the Trend boss of the Brawlers Guild, it's actually not that hard of a boss. The Seagull though hits pretty hard, so if you're not a plater, you might have a bit of a problems, but his HP isn't that huge, and with a good burst you can deal with this fight pretty easily. I've only seen other people get the Ash Ketchum, basically the Pokemon fight where you need to dodge a lot of animals and kill that NPS and kill the guy, but I haven't never seen the last third one. As far as I've read it from Wowhead, it's called Beatbox. I haven't seen anyone performing on this fight, so I'm going to be trying in the further days to complete those fights, but I'm probably not going to be showing you because they're generally for fun and not that hard. But for the stranger thing, I hope I helped you out. I'm going to suggest you to as well on your 50%. That is where I bursted on 50%. When my 1 minute potion runs out, I definitely suggest you use your double second pots then and a drum, because you're definitely going to need that extra DPS, as well as the previous fight on the rated tier. The DPS check for this boss is pretty tight as well, and the biggest problem you're going to have with this boss is RNG, getting randomly feared or stunned or swallowed. That is going to ruin your positioning or DPS, but in general this is my favorite fight from this expansion, not Tavern Brawl, Brawlers Guild. My last one was Hexus from the previous expansion. I actually played it on Warlords of Draenor. I know it was up from Pandaria, but I did play original WoW from Warlords of Draenor. Hexus was my previous favorite one, and this time is going to be the Stranger Thing. One thing I don't know is why they didn't put the random 3 boss fights as cards, which would be, I think, better. But I guess it is what it is. So I hope this helped you out a bit, guys. The quick overview of this fight, and thank you for watching. And until next time, stay righteous. As much damage as possible. As you can see, the splash damage is actually helping out a lot. Going to jump on the Falstad as well after the Diablo. I'm actually a bit low there. Going to disengage. I barely dodged that Ragnaros thingy there. Now the Immortal is actually starting to do a lot of core damage. Sylvanas is getting pretty low. I'm just going to start auto attack, dealing splash damage here, doing my best. Ragnar is going to submerge. I'm going to focus back to the immortal because he's doing a lot of